The last time I talked about the Analogue 3D, I got a lot of heat for talking about why I was not going to pre-order one. A lot of Analogue fans were not happy with my take at the time last year. But maybe I made the right decision in the short term by opting to get a MiSTer instead, because this thing has now been delayed not once but twice this year. So originally, the Analogue 3D was supposed to be shipping in the first quarter of this year, basically before the end of March. And keep in mind that the pre-order was a bit delayed in and of itself, as the product was announced about a year before the pre-orders even happened. But then the system got delayed to July of this year, and then it just got delayed yet again to August, this time citing tariffs as the main reason. So what's really happening at this point? Well, let's start not with this recent delay, but with the pre-order last year. Back then, I think a lot of us thought that the console was done being designed and manufacturing was going to begin as soon as the pre-order sold out. In retrospect, I don't think that was the case at all. I'm starting to think that they bit off a bit more than they could chew with an FPGA N64, and that's why they had to announce a delay back in March. I highly doubt that the system was ready to go to manufacturing at the time. And soon after that came the tariffs in April, but obviously that was outside of Analogue's control. That's exactly what they blamed for the most recent delay as mentioned earlier, and I get it. They want to avoid having to pay tariffs to get these consoles into the US at this point. And those tariffs were updated recently by the White House. That cuts into their profits, and they don't want to have to pass off the costs to the consumer, since people already paid a decent amount of money on these pre-orders last year. However, Analogue claimed on X that they are absorbing the costs, so to speak, and not charging extra. So if that's the case, why can't they ship it out now? Maybe they still haven't finished manufacturing anyway, and they're trying to cover that up. Who knows? But I'm not sure if this strategy is going to work out all that well for the company in this situation. Maybe the tariffs really will go away by August, but there's a good chance that they won't. That might not be until next year or later than that. We really don't know. And there's a possibility that they could delay the console yet again. Who knows? If they do that, people are going to be even more pissed off than they already are. Not a great situation for Analogue, obviously. All that being said, I still think there's one small thing they could do in the meantime to make this situation better. And it's very simple. Show off the console. This is something that people have been asking Analogue to do for a while now. I'm sure they have at least some sort of finalized piece of hardware in the office that they've been testing and tweaking, if not the actual console itself by now. They should show off what they've got, hook up some controllers to it and play some N64 games on it. Maybe even invite some YouTubers to their office and allow them to film the system and try out some of their favorite N64 games on it. I would even stream it live if I were them and take questions. Now, will they do any of that? No. That would be pretty uncharacteristic of them to do such a thing. They tend to keep a pretty low profile and would rather keep posting clips of games that can run on the Analogue Pocket on their X account, only occasionally making an important announcement. But some people were begging for footage of the actual console on X in response to the most recent delay. I don't blame them. I think Analogue should reconsider their social media and get out in front of the people. But I think they're a bit hesitant to risk opening themselves up to even more criticism. I doubt that they will change at this point. Speaking of change, one last thing that I want to discuss is the fact that the FPGA market has been changing and getting more competitive, which is a problem for Analogue. When the Analogue 3D was first announced, the N64 MiSTer core was barely a thing. However, by the time I made my video saying I wasn't getting the Analogue 3D when the pre-orders were starting up, one of the biggest reasons, besides the fact that I don't really like Analogue as a company, was the fact that the MiSTer core had gotten so viable by that point. The Turbo core, in particular, is especially impressive, providing even better performance than a real N64, which is extremely helpful for games that didn't run at 60 FPS, which is most of the library. I think the MiSTer is worth it just for that, to be honest with you. Of course, the MiSTer clones are now suffering from the same tariff issues that Analogue is facing, but some of us managed to buy our MiSTer clones before the tariffs took effect. Plus, ModRetro has been teasing a new N64 of their own called the M64. This is the company that made the Chromatic, an FPGA Game Boy that came out last year. Say what you want about Palmer Luckey and his background, but he proved with the Chromatic that his company can deliver a product to the market as promised. Plus, they even managed to get the Chromatic restocked this month without a price increase, despite the tariffs being a thing at this point. Of course, we still don't know when the M64 is coming out. ModRetro is just teasing it right now. It could be next year or the year after, but it's still another competitor on the horizon. I have a feeling that the people waiting on another run of the Analogue 3D are probably going to look at one of these other options instead. At the end of the day, I hope the Analogue 3D does ship out in August, and that everyone who pre-ordered gets their console that they paid a lot of money to get. I hope it delivers on the promise of an FPGA N64 that looks great on a modern TV, and that it can play just about any N64 game you could imagine. That being said, I don't like the way that they've handled this console so far, but then again, I don't like the way they depend on FOMO marketing, as well as their failure to crack down on scalpers. I just don't like Analogue as a company anyway. But I'd like to know what you think at this point. Did you pre-order last year like a lot of people did? Did you give up and ask for your refund at this point? Or did you decide like me back then to just get a MiSTer instead? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.